responsible for ensuring that the project goals are in alignment with key stakeholders. ProSci, who are probably the biggest change management trainers in the world, say a change manager will play a key role in ensuring projects, change initiatives, remember what I said, that every project is a change project, change initiatives meet objectives on time and on budget, same as the project manager, but also by increasing employee adoption and usage, which is the post-go live stuff. They will focus on the people side of change, right? Including changes to the business processes, systems, technology, job roles, organizational structures, etc., etc., etc. So they're kind of the two differences as explained by the project manager, the PMI and ProSci. In 2019, I found an interesting blog, which was written by Suzanne Madsen, who's a project leadership coach, called "What are the 3 biggest mistakes that project managers make?" Interestingly, she says the number 1 mistake is managing tasks and events at the expense of leading people. The most common mistake project managers make is that they are more concerned with tasks and events than with people and the human impact of the change, often unknowingly, okay? Many project managers have a rational, logical and analytical way of thinking, not like us muddly-minded change managers who have no kind of rational logic way of thinking. Well, we do actually. She goes on to say, they are good at analysing facts, calculating duration, coordinating activities and making rational decisions. She says, they are task-focused and see their primary role as delivering what the customer has asked for within the agreed parameters of time, cost, and quality. Number 3, she says they are less concerned with why their customer needs the product and in which ways it affects their business and the people who develop it and use it. They just want to deliver it, but they don't really want to worry about what goes on afterwards. And finally, number 4, their strength is in executing and following somebody else's vision and specification rather than helping to define the vision. So that's a project leadership coach talking about project managers. Let's start with a very, I'm a simple kind of guy. I like to look at things. It'll get a bit more complicated a bit later on, but let me start from a very simplistic view, okay? Project managers make the change. Change managers help people adopt the change. Kind of nice and easy, isn't it, to remember? Yeah, okay. Let's drill down into a little bit more detail now, shall we? PM and CM. PM prioritizes technical. CM prioritizes people. PM manages things like, as I said before, scope, time, quality, budget. CM manages adoption, resistance, culture, engagement. And finally, what are the outcomes for a PM and a CM? Outcomes for a PM are the solution delivery, on time, and go live. The outcome for a CM is the number of people that adopt whatever has been delivered, which could go on for 3 months past go live. So that's a little bit more detail. Let's drill down into a little bit more detail now, shall we? Okay, number 1, change management is only an idea. Unlike project management, which is the development of an idea. Number 2, project management has a timeline, while change management doesn't necessarily have a timeline, although you have to work to a timeline, but you can get pulled in all sorts of different ways and that will mess up your timeline considerably. Number 3, change management needs many ideas to make one vision, while project management just needs the one vision, that is, deliver this product at that time. And number 4, change management is structuring the vision, while project management is creating the milestones. And finally, 5. Project management already has a defined goal. They know what they've got to deliver and when they've got to deliver it, okay? While change management goals can be adjusted at any second. I've been involved in so many projects now where I've had certain things to do, and because of various reasons, all the goals change. Well, not all of the goals, but some of the goals change, and you have to go off at a tangent and start doing different things, because that's the way projects work. Projects never work continuously. There's always this messy bit in the middle, and that's where the change manager gets heavily involved. So that's a bit more detail. Let's have a look at some of the different ways, the perspectives that project managers see from and change. So, project managers see the organization as a very structured hierarchy. He's the boss, 2 managers, middle managers, operational people, etc. A change manager, all they see is a loosely connected group of people without structure who are doing certain things and helping with this, that, and the other. They don't necessarily look at hierarchy. A project manager is expert at dealing with plans, resources, and data. Whereas a change manager is expert at dealing with people and behaviors. A project manager performs at their best when faced with certainty and predictability. Whereas a change manager performs at their best faced with all this ambiguity and unpredictability that's going on, and having to keep all these balls up in the air, and and dealing with all these difficult. Project manager takes their perspectives from outside of the business looking in, whereas a change manager takes their perspective from inside of the business looking out. Manager concentrates on a time horizon of up to go live, which I demonstrated in the previous slide. And finally, the change manager concentrates on a time of horizon well beyond go live, again, as demonstrated in the previous slide. Project managers are rewarded for delivery to time, cost, and quality. Change managers are rewarded for business readiness and user adoption. Get the business ready for go live, get everybody to use this and adopt, and you get the reward for it. Project manager deals with facts and figures. Yeah, we've got so many days to deliver this, we've got in this, and so forth. Change manager, deals with people's perceptions and emotions and the way they react to things. Project manager deliverables are primarily tangible. They know what they have to deliver. Yeah. Whereas in the most cases, a change manager's deliverables are intangible, although a change manager does have some tangible deliverables. They can have a communication. Those are actually tangible, but on the face of it, they are very intangible. Things like changing mindsets and behaviors, which is one of the most important aspects of a change manager's job. You cannot have a plan. Yeah, it's not tangible. You can't say, I'm going to change their behavior within a week. Culture change, you can't say, I'm going to change the culture of this organization in a couple of days. Can't do it. A project manager takes an approach, which is a straight line from A to B, whereas a change manager takes an approach which navigates the path of least resistance. How can I get over all these problems that are arising? And finally, the project manager primarily needs to be structured, whereas a change manager needs to be very flexible. Okay, so those are the kind of perspectives between project manager and change manager. Right, so that's given you a little bit of more detail about sort of how project managers and change managers are. Let's talk now about specifically roles and responsibilities. I've kind of split this into hard and soft, if you like, okay? And the hard roles, project managers is defining the project scope, managing resources, scheduling work tasks, managing issues and risks, and cutover and delivery. Whereas the soft change management roles, things like project communication, stakeholder management, business readiness, training management, usage and adoption. Okay, so slightly different. Although it is arguable that a project manager can handle actually some of the soft stuff as well, which, and I've been talking about integration of the two roles a little. But it's difficult to, as I said, try and put a kind of timeline on changing company culture or managing resistance, etc., which is it's a real difficulty. Right. Leaders often undervalue the distinct roles that these two management subjects have. PM is a business decision enabler, while CM is a people behavior enabler. They have job roles and responsibilities that require two definitive different skill sets. Change management, as an example, works on change sustainability and integration. Works on communication progress and the impact of the communication. Manages people risk. Yeah, what are the risks here with all these people resisting the change? What's the biggest risk? Yeah? Where are the biggest impacts? Focuses on people side strategy. How we're going to manage all these people and to explain the impact of what's going on here. Follows change management life cycle, whichever one you want to choose. There's many methodologies, models out there. I've got one of my own. So they follow quite a distinctive change management life cycle. And they manage and they motivate people, all these people that are fed up with all these change going on. The change manager has on the flip side, project management, yeah, they drive solution delivery. Okay. They focus, I've said it before, and I'll say it again, on time, cost, quality, and scope. They manage the technical risk, whatever that might be. They manage the project from start to end. They follow, obviously, a project management life cycle, just like a change manager follows the change management life cycle. And finally, they deliver the project solution, of course. Okay, so I've gone through all of these roles and responsibilities. Now, in real life, what do they look like? What I'll do now is I'll just give you some personal examples of where I've worked in collaboration with a project manager and what my roles and responsibilities have been and what their roles and responsibilities have been. The first one, I was the IT change and communications manager for a big head office move of GlaxoSmithKline in Singapore. I developed and delivered all the IT related communication and change for their HQ relocation. My roles and responsibilities were developing the change strategy, the learning planning and delivery, the communications planning and delivery, all of the stakeholder engagement, and undertaking change impact analysis. The project manager's responsibilities were managing the project plan, project and milestone reporting, infrastructure planning and implementation, risk and issue management, budget management, and technical change management, the one I spoke to before, ITIL. So that was GlaxoSmithKline, major head office, 800 people moved from central site to the site outside of the centre, which went absolutely to plan, delivered on time and on budget. The second one, I was a business change manager for an SAP implementation for a company called Manitoba, who build the high-rise cranes for building high-rise buildings. I managed all the communications, training and business readiness activities for the Asia SAP implementation, Australia, Singapore, Korea, and the Philippines. What did I do? I monitored the readiness of the business for go live. I delivered all the communications. I developed the training plan. I managed user acceptance test management, which a change manager doesn't normally do, but I was asked to do it, so I did it. I did all the process and organizational design, and I managed all the stakeholder management. The project manager, again, managed the plan, managed the project team, did gap fit analysis, data management and cutover, training planning in collaboration with me, and cutover and go live planning. And finally, business change manager for a target operating model between Orange and Everything Everywhere. They wanted to develop a new target operating model for their SAS business intelligence. So partially business people, partially technical people, and they wanted to combine the two. My role, organization realignment, business process capture. Nobody knew what each other did. Stakeholder engagement, communication, education and training, business readiness monitoring. Project manager, managing the project plan, project governance and reporting, infrastructure and environment planning, risk and issue management, business requirements, code management. So those three examples, the project manager responsibilities were kind of the same throughout. However, the change management responsibilities, while some of them were kind of the same, there were others that were different. And one of the things that happens is, certainly in my experience, is as a change manager, when you go into a role, if there is something that needs to be done and nobody else has spare capacity, it's normally the change manager that's asked to undertake it, like the previous one here, where I actually managed user acceptance testing. The program manager said, have you got some time on your hands? I said, yeah. I said, would you like to manage user acceptance testing? Never done it before, but yes, I'll do it. So I did it, okay? Purely because I had the capacity. Okay, so that's just like some personal examples to demonstrate. So when I worked in these projects and other projects, how did I, as a change manager, position myself with the project manager? Okay, so you have the change manager. Okay, you have the project team on one side. You have the impacted stakeholders on the other side. My role, and this is what I always do, is to act as the conduit between the project and the business. Sometimes using a set of change agents, if necessary. Because what tends to happen is the project, if they're involved in any kind of communication, they could, no problem, yeah, they're very well versed in communication, but there would be a tendency to communicate from a technical perspective, which sometimes the business, the impacted stakeholders don't understand, yeah. So my role as a change manager would be to sit between the two, yeah, and manage all of the differences, you know, the communication issues and stuff like that, yeah, and try and simplify things to enable the business to understand what the project is actually delivering, so they can understand it and get involved more, and they become more aware of what's happening. So it's the conduit between the business and the project. Sometimes you sit in the project in the project team, so it's a bit difficult acting as the conduit. Very rarely do you sit in the business as part of the business. Okay, so that's always a difficult thing to manage. Okay, so we've talked about all this. We've talked about job roles and responsibilities and et cetera, et cetera. What about integrating the two? How do you actually get them together to work together? This is the interesting one. Both change management and project management support moving an organization from a current state, how things are done today, through a transition state to a desired future state, new processes, systems, organizational structures, or job roles as defined by the change. So both change management and project management support the same thing. That's what they're there to do. Yeah, they're not diametrically opposed to each other. Yeah, they're there to deliver something to the business, that change that I mentioned earlier. Okay, so same kind of goals, but slightly different mindset. So What about integration? Integration begins with role clarity, and that's why I talked a lot about roles and responsibilities. But there is a lack of understanding still between the role, a project manager and a change manager in many organizations. Besides confusion around role clarity, there are many other barriers to project and change management integration that I think you should be made aware of. And they are things like, even now, I've been doing this for 40 years before it was even called change management, but even now, today, change management still seems to be in its infancy in comparison. Someone says, yeah, I'm a project manager. Oh yeah, I know what you do. Boom, boom, boom. If I say to somebody, oh, I'm a change manager, they go, what? What do you do? I don't understand. So in that respect, everybody knows what a project manager is, but nobody knows what a change manager is, okay? So we're still in the early phases of converting non-believers in this strange change management discipline, whatever it may be. Since the role of the project manager has expanded, and it has over the years significantly, most do not have the capacity or capability to learn and undertake change management. They may be able to do a bit here and there, but not change management in its full-blooded approach. And change management is big. Okay, there's a lot of stuff about change management. There's some people just say, oh, it's just a bit of communication and a bit of training. Well, it's a bit more than that, actually. Yeah, because you're dealing with people, you're dealing with mindsets, you're dealing with changing behaviors, you're dealing with culture change, you're dealing with resistance and all of that sort of stuff. So it's not just communication and training. Change management is not easily measured, although, as I mentioned before, you can measure it in certain instances. And since the results are often intangible, so executives who control budgets, who control the money side of things, struggle to justify the expense and fail to get behind change management efforts. You ask any organization about, what would they spend their money on first, given they've got a project? Would they spend it on project management or change management? The majority will say project management. And the rest will say, we'll think about change management. Yeah, that's a fact. Project management is known. Project management is the vehicle for delivery, even though a change project is a change to the business. Finally, while project management has been ingrained deeply within the fabric of most organizations, change management is still struggling. I've been on quite a few steering boards. Unfortunately, I've been thrown off some for telling the truth, for raising red flags. And that's kind of a problem sometimes for C-suite, for sponsors. Change managers are renowned for telling the truth, which sometimes the business is not ready. What do you mean the business is not ready? I've been measuring the bit, it's not ready. You can't go live. We have to go live. Yeah, we have to deliver, blah, 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 etc. So it's a difficult one. The importance of project management, change management to project success. This is data from a LinkedIn survey by Beyond Strategy. I can see, just to briefly interject, I can see a lot of messages coming up in the Q&A and raised. I'll get to those at the end of the session, okay? So just going back to this, the importance of project management and change management to project success. This is data from a LinkedIn survey that was done some while ago by Beyond Strategy, and they asked two questions. Question one, how important is project management to change success? 25% said it's critical. Well, that's good. 68% said it's necessary. That's good as well. The rest said, well, it's kind of a nice to have. Okay. When asked how important is change management to project, what? 48, nearly double, said it was critical. 43% said it was necessary, and the rest said it was nice to have. You've got an immediate increase from to 48% just by asking the two different questions about the criticality of project management to change success or the criticality of change management to project success. Interesting. How well is change management and project management integrated in your organization? This ProSci, who I mentioned earlier, they do a number of webinars and they collect data on a regular basis from the people they run webinars with. So what we've got is extremely well down to extremely poorly down the left, and at the bottom 0 to 50%. So they ask the question, how well is change management and project management integrated in your organization? 4% extremely well. Not very good. Oh, that's a bit better. About 12% said, yeah, it's well integrated. 33, 34%, acceptably integrated. Oh dear, 43% poorly integrated, and then another 8% approximately extremely poorly. So you've got about 50% of organizations that say that project management is not very well integrated in their organizations. That really tells a lot in terms of project success. Yeah, it really does. So, talked about integration, etc. What are the steps to integration? Right, there's 5 steps, I think. It starts with education, okay, informing leaders, stakeholders, project managers, and the project team members the benefits of change management is critical to project success. Education. There's loads of statistics, and I'm going to go through a couple of them, a few of them in a minute. The second one, you need to set expectations around how change work gets done and acknowledge that the discipline of change management is based on facts and insights gathered through data gathering tools and processes. Yes, we gather data. Yeah, I can measure business readiness. I can measure user usage and adoption. I can measure communication penetration. I can measure a whole load of things, and these are hard quantitative measures. But as I said before, there are also some very difficult qualitative measures that are very difficult to measure. And this is where most of the people concentrate on. They say, oh, this is all too fluffy, you know, trying to sort of, you know, culture and stuff like that. So that is where they get confused. But we can provide hard measures for a lot of stuff we do. Use something I mentioned earlier, use consumer-friendly and basic language when describing the change process and work efforts, because the process for change management may be viewed as inefficient to the untrained eye. If somebody doesn't understand what you're talking about when you talk about change management, they might say, I don't know what you mean. How can this affect that? Simple language. I continually advocate the use of simple language. No 3-letter acronyms, yeah? Spell it out if you have to. Then there's ensure project management and change management synergy by presenting a united front to project leadership, stakeholders and team members. Demonstrate that you're working together. Don't have internal fights at all. But you get over them. But demonstrate that you work together. Internal fights are one of the things that happens anyway, so it's no big deal. You get over it, you sort it out. And finally, collaborate. This is an important one. Collaborate with the project manager and key stakeholders to embed a change methodology, whichever one that might be, and subsequent deliverables within a master plan and a status report. Wherever possible, when I've worked in collaboration with a project manager on any project, I have always, where I've been able to, put my deliverables into their project management plan. So if I've got to deliver certain communications by a certain time in a certain way to certain people, bang, that goes in the project plan. If I have to measure business readiness and I do it over a period of 6 months, boom, that goes in the project plan. If I have to deliver usage and adoption measurement, boom, that goes in the project plan. The things, as I said before, that you can't put in a project plan are things like changing culture, managing resistance, and changing mindsets and behaviors. So those sorts of things you have to keep outside of a project plan, because it wouldn't make sense to have them in a project plan, because you can't deliver to a timeline of changing a culture. A culture change project typically takes 1 to 3 years. Okay, so try and avoid the fluffy stuff, but you can input certain deliverables into project plans and report against them. I did for the GlaxoSmithKline one, all the stuff, all the measures I was creating, all the communications I was creating, etc., etc. It was all in the project plan, embedded. Have you delivered this, Ron? Yes, I have. Have you delivered this, Ron? No, I haven't. I'll be a week late. Okay, boom, boom, boom. It's all in the plan. But, so I've said all of this about collaboration and stuff. There is a conundrum. Can just one individual be both a project manager, one individual, or should they be two different people? That is the big conundrum. My view, a CM and PM model of working in partnership is the way forward. The PM with a responsibility for change, or conversely, the CM with a responsibility for PM on an individual. They may not necessarily have the right experience and skill set to manage both elements. I'm not saying it can't be done. It's all dependent on the size of the project and the amount of change, etc. But from my perspective, I've always worked in collaboration with a project manager. CIO actually support my view. That's nice. How project managers and change managers work together. When projects are initiated, they create a significant amount of undue stress on stakeholders and employees in general. While project managers maintain complete focus on overall project objectives with the goal of ensuring stakeholder value, change management professionals should not only attend project meetings, but also be an integral part of the project team. That's kind of debatable. Yeah. Bearing in mind the slide I said of being the conduit between the project plan and the business. Collaborating provides an holistic approach to strategy and ensures the impact to people can be sufficiently addressed to reduce unnecessary stress and anxiety, and also create a smooth transition in terms of processes and acceptance during a long and long after the project is complete. And finally, overall, organizations should encourage change management professionals and project managers to work closely together to ensure project and the resulting change are sufficiently addressed to reduce the impact on its people and the level of product and services and service delivery. So kind of agree with my thinking, which is nice. All right. Need to think about selecting. Select, depending on the project, how do you select the right structure? I picked this up from, I think it was a PEMI Metrolina chapter. At the bottom, you've got degree of behavioral change required, low and high. On the left-hand side, you've got supportive culture and or leadership, strong or weak. So if you have low degree of behavior change required and a strong supportive culture, you can use a PM plus some CM skills, a bit of training, a bit of communication. If you have a high degree of behavioral change, and a strong supportive culture, you can use a PM plus strong CM skills, or a PM and CM. If you've got a weak supportive culture or leadership and a low degree of behavioral change, then PM plus strong CM skills, or a PM plus CM. And if you've got, and in the fourth quadrant, it would be a CM plus. It's very high level. It's just a way of trying to sort of say, this is the kind of model we would use. All right, we're getting there. I have a suggested partnership. sponsor at the top. You have a steering group or program board. Project manager reports into them, and change manager also reports into them. They work together collaboratively. The project manager will have a project team that works for them. The change manager will have a change team sometimes that work for them. Then there's the business. The sponsor, and the change team works as a conduit to the business wherever possible. But you also have support from the sponsor to the business. Okay? So that's kind of the model that I have previously worked to. I would always recommend, but again, it depends on the type of the project, the length of the project, the difficulty of the change, etc. So you might, this model might not be worthwhile for every kind of project. You can have change agents as well. I talked about change agents before. Change management normally is a change manager working in isolation, and they recruit a number of change agents to help them with what they do from the business. So you can have a set of change agents that helps with that conduit piece between the project and the business. All right. Finally, one slide on project success and failure. This is from ProSci, okay? Without change management, employees feel surprised and overwhelmed by the change. You get failed project results, extended project schedules, additional project costs, and low adoption and usage. However, with change management, employees feel prepared and supported for the change. This is from their webinars and various surveys they do of big organizations. So with change management, you are six times more likely to achieve your objectives. With change management, you're 5 times more likely to stay on schedule. With change management, you're 2 times more likely to stay on budget. And finally, with change management, it gives an increase of people-dependent return on investment. Thank you very much for your time. That is it. I hope you enjoyed the session. I'll stop sharing now. There's a lot of chats. How do you want me to play this? Do you want me to have a look at the chats and see what questions there are?
Yeah, I think the questions are a bit larger, so it's better if you see.
Okay, let me have a look at the chat. Dear participants, please write questions here.
Please check in the question and answer section.
There's nothing really there. Nothing. If you have a question, please provide questions. Hey, Ron, happy to have you. Okay. Check out PMI. Dear participants, please write your questions. Right, there's no real questions. Let's have a look at Q&A. All right.
Yeah.
Regarding your slide on PM versus CM perspectives, it seems quite simplistic, frankly. It appears that the contrasts have been posited on viewing project management as a largely tech-related or tech implementation discipline, and the PM as a role that prioritizes everything other than stakeholder engagement. This is hardly the case anywhere. How would you respond to that? I said I was going to be provocative, and that's, yes, one of my kind of provocative slides. I admit that it is very much posited in as the project manager being largely tech related. And again, Bo, this is based on my experience. Yeah, with project managers I've worked for, it's been based on my experience where the project manager has said, I don't want anything to do with people. I really do not want anything to do with people. I've got this stuff to deliver. I've got this technical solution to deliver, etc. Forget about stakeholder engagement. Forget about communication. I don't want to do that. Again, my experience, okay, I am absolutely sure, 100% sure, there are project managers who do not necessarily have that totally technical focus and can invariably manage the change management side very well. I don't have any issue with that whatsoever. So yes, this comes from my perspective. All right, next one. from Abdullah Al-Mamoon. In my experience of
Yes.
project management, I hardly could avoid change management. In fact, both PM and CM were intertwined. Yes, project outcome delivery couldn't meet project success criteria and or meet the strategic objectives of the organization without embedding the changes that the project outcomes brought in. Correct. Missing link indeed is the disconnect of project management and organizational strategy. That's an interesting one. Although portfolio management is the vehicle of implementing organizational strategy. A project management strategy is every project would be able to bridge the missing link. Invariably, again, I'm talking from my experience, I have been brought into projects, programs at a late date, where either things have started to go wrong or organizations feel they suddenly need a change manager. The strategy has already been done. Yeah, so in situations like that, the strategy has already been written. What should happen is when you start out on a project management journey, you want to deliver this change, whatever it may be, ERP solution or AI or whatever. Project management, program management, sponsorship, change management should all be there right at the beginning. They should be there building the strategy together, and embedded in that overall strategy should be change management along with project management. So yes, I agree with what you say there. And this goes back to what I said about organizations still focus too much on project management. Yeah, they will not even consider change management. So all the strategy stuff is done up front with project managers, program managers, etc. And change management could be an afterthought. It could be an afterthought after the strategy has been done, or it could be an afterthought after the project has started, and they suddenly realize that they need a change manager. The GlaxoSmithKline project in Singapore, had been going 2 months when they suddenly decided they needed a change manager because the project manager was unable to deliver all of the stuff that the change manager needed to deliver. So 2 months, the whole project was 6 months. So they were already 33.33% in before they decided they wanted a change manager. And I've done that on several occasions. It's a crying shame that happens. Yeah, but again, it's back to the one slide I had earlier. It's back to the understanding of what change management is all about. Yeah, what is this change management all about? And it's education. I mentioned education.
All right.
What is the
Ron,
sorry? Yeah.
Annesha Ahmed, our president-elect, joined with us in this panel. He want to add something against this question, right, Annesha? You want to say something about this question? Please unmute yourself. Annesha, would you want to add something?
On which question?
The Abdullah Al-Maun Bhai's question. Anything? No.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, I actually agree with him that it's very difficult to not include change management with project management in our criteria. Actually, in our culture, actually, it's all expected from the project manager to do all the job. So that's pretty difficult for So that's the main point actually to making the differentiate, like how to make the differentiate of the change management work is pretty much different than the project manager's work. So
I could. Yeah, culture plays a big part, and this is one of the reasons which I talked about earlier before we went live, which is one of the reasons I'm delivering these sessions into Asia. And this is one of the reasons I'm trying to set up the Institute of Change and Transformation Professionals Asia, to help the region understand how, not imperative, how important change management is to project success, because it's not widely known. And there's also a heavy impact on country culture. I did a culture survey towards the beginning of this year, and I did 14 different dynamics that I said, how does this impact the way you practice change and transformation? And the three that came out on top was, I can't even remember what they were now, hierarchy, responsibility, and the top one was building relationships. So those 3 issues have a big bearing on how change and transformation is practiced. But yeah, it's not embedded in the culture here in Asia, change management. And there's an expectation, as you said, that a project manager should deal with the change management side of things. But as I mentioned earlier, change management is not just a little piece of work. It's not just training. It's not just communication. Yeah, it's massive. When you're dealing with people, if you've got a project that you're delivering something to that's 500 people, yeah, you're dealing with 500 different individuals. Yeah, all the different ways of thinking, all the different ways they can resist change, all the different mindsets and behaviors that you have to change, yeah, and stuff like that. So it's difficult. There is there is a mindset here that's I call the Nike approach to change. Is just do it, yeah, just get on with it, just do it. It doesn't matter, you know. And you know, projects are kind of successful here from that perspective, yeah. But I think they could be more successful if you actually adopted change management into the process, or if you actually not adopted the whole gambit of change management, if you actually had more of a change management element into that you could weave into your project progress. Just let me go through this. The other one is, what is the usual job contract duration and nature for a PM and a CM? Not quite sure what that means, but normally contract duration, I've worked on the contract market for years and years, and it depends on the project. 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, really depends. While organizations in their cost-cutting approach happy to recruit a PM with the expertise on contract management and technical knowledge, will market ready to accept change management separately? What is the added value, Sticky, on CM concept? The added value is that, you know, the project manager can concentrate on his you know, time, cost, quality, and budget. The change manager can handle all these difficult people that the project manager would normally have to deal with. You know, all these all this resistance and all this having to change mindsets and behaviors, and you know, all of the hassle that these people cause. That's the added value. But will organizations pay for that added value? That's the big question. Can I manage the people side of change without a methodology? What are the risks? That's a good question. Without a methodology, you could do. You could do. There are plenty of change management methodologies out there. I have one. I don't call it a methodology. I call it an approach, a framework. But it's better to work to some kind of structure, just like project management. Yeah, it's better to work to some kind of structure rather than just dealing with things as they happen and as they arise. Yeah. So you know, but it depends on how you use a methodology. There's over 50 change management methodologies. 50. Yeah. I don't advocate using one. I advocate using different pieces from different ones and building bespoke methodologies for organizations. So it takes nuance of their culture, of what they already have in place, their capability, the capability they have in place, etc. So you have a bespoke model methodology that people immediately buy into and say, okay, this is the way we're doing it in future, and this works for our organization. Oh, sorry, you wanted to answer that question, didn't you, Anisha? Sorry. Well, yeah, okay. What's your thoughts on that then?
I think everything needs to have a checklist at least, because like not only methodology, but everything has to be a checklist. Like what are the output you are expecting from that change? Because like a roadmap somewhere, otherwise actually you can't get the output out of it, because you'll change in somewhere in the middle and the motivation will get lost or the goal will get lost. So I don't like you have to have hundreds of pages and pages of methodologies, but impact is very less because we are going out of it. So I think to be more agile mindset over there, to have like a prompt action whenever it's needed, but you should have a checklist, like what we are doing, what are the purpose.
Yeah, I train on change management, and a number of things I have about, I can't remember how many checklists I have, but I've got checklists for everything. Yeah.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
You know, the danger of using checklists is it's a tick box exercise. I've done that, and it might not be done. Say, oh, I've done stakeholder engagement, tick. Well, you haven't, because stakeholder engagement goes on throughout the whole of the project. I've done that, tick. Oh, suddenly I've managed the resistance here, and all of a sudden some other kind of resistance pops up. So you have to go back and say, well, I'll have to untick that box and retick it when I've done it all. So checklists are fine, but it's more of having an overarching framework to work to. I think is probably more important than just having a tick box thing, a checklist thing. Does that make sense? Yeah.
All right. So I think all the questions are answered, right? Anything left?
Yeah. So I think everyone can follow Ron over the LinkedIn as well. So also you can provide your LinkedIn link over here so that the 34 people over here can get connected with each other, because in the COVID, we need more connections. We need to learn from each other a lot. So I guess that would be great. Like if you can provide your LinkedIn with each other as well.
Yeah, what I'll do is I'll send you an email. I'll send show up an email. In that email, I'll put the slide deck. Yeah, I've also got a link to a SurveyMonkey survey that I'd like participants to fill in, just to make sure, or to find out how I did. Was I rubbish or was I any good? Yeah. And
like 1 to 10, how much you like?
hey, I don't.
Like 1 to 10, extremely useful and all. Yeah.
I don't mind. Listen, if people say I'm rubbish, I don't mind. Yeah, I've been around long enough now to not to worry about it. People say I'm rubbish.
But we need to like.
Yeah, it's just
over here, like from 33 people, we need at least 50% of the survey, because the survey results, like only 2 to 3% people just check the all of it. So
I've had some negative feedback, and one of the things I'm delivering to next one I'm delivering to is Philippines, and the one after that I'm delivering to is Singapore. And what I do is, from the feedback, if there's any feedback that I think shows me necessity to make changes to the slides, I make changes to the slides. Yeah, it's not for me. It's not for, oh, look how well I did. Yeah. Because I might not necessarily have done very well.
So it feedbacks from you. And on that note, the members over here are all requested to provide your feedbacks that PMI has sent you a survey about our chapter and how well we're working on it and how we could satisfy all our members.
Takes about 2 minutes. Takes about 2 minutes. That's all. Yeah. And there is one important question in there. It says, if you're interested in going through my change management training, let me know. Because I think I'm going to be taking a lady through from Bangladesh through my change management training soon. I'm just waiting for confirmation. So that will be my first change management delivery to Bangladesh. Interesting. Anyway, I've said enough.
Okay.
Okay.
So we will check on that feedback, and I'll surely get back with you the feedback.
Yeah,
I promise.
Can you do me a favor? Can we have? Is it possible to have everybody's video on so I can take a screenshot? Is that possible?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, today
Ron, actually it's an webinar session. It's an webinar session, so you can have the picture of panelists only. So
all right. So have you already got a screenshot of all the people involved? Or?
Yeah, I already took some screenshots of the panelists.
Send it to me.
Sure.
Send it, because what I'll do is I'll put it on LinkedIn.
Sure.
say what a wonderful bunch of
Sure.
people I've been dealing with at PMI Bangladesh.
Yes, perfect.
All right.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you
So-
very much for your time. Thank you very much for listening to me, for my very specific views on change management. But you know, I will stress the fact that change management, project management, working together is the way to go. That's
All
that's my last thing.
So thank you so much on behalf of PMI Bangladesh chapter. Thanking you for your well-articulated presentation and wonderful discussion. So in the future, maybe we will again get you in our community and listen to you.
Okay,
So thank you so much.
thank you very much.
For joining with us. Thank you. Bye.